Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. Just like a road rally race or a long marathon or some kind of run like that, everybody needs checkpoints in their life so they know if they're actually on track to their destination or just chasing butterflies. That's what I want to talk about in this episode of Leading Leaders. Join us for this journey.
Master the story power method to captivate your audience, improve workplace culture, and 10x your fundraising.
Scan the QR code to book your first coaching call or visit storypowercoach.com.
Subscribe now for access to our extensive media library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. Begin your personal growth plan at storypoweracademy.com for leadership development and communication skills training.
I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. Recently, right here in the Story Power Academy studio, I was working with a client who said, this one big thing, though, we thought was going to happen, and then nothing happened. And I'm wondering now what I did wrong. And I'm wondering if I should give up and go another way, or if I should just step back altogether. And I said, there's something about planting those seeds that as you're growing your business, as you're growing yourself, as you're growing your opportunity, it's really hard, especially for those of us who are ministry minded. Now, when I say ministry minded, what I mean is we feel like our purpose and our calling is something different than, maybe it's not vocational ministry, pastoring a church, leading a global mission or anything like that, but it's my calling is to help people better understand and grow their faith. That's my primary purpose. And I would say there's probably 60 to 70% of my clients, that's kind of what they feel. Now, some of them already have a strong, solid career. They've been working in a job for a long period of time, or at least in a career field where even if they left job A, they could go to B, C, D, and on down the road because they've got an education, they've got a process, they've got a resume, they've got a history that moving from one job to the next is not going to be a problem. In fact, pay raises and opportunities may come right behind that. But some of my clients, they have a ministry heart, but they also have an independent entrepreneurial side to them as well. They've done the corporate America thing. They're either done with that or they're retired from that or they moved on to their own thing. And so now there's this constant balance struggle between paying the bills and doing what I'm supposed to. And it's a real challenge for a lot of people because they can't keep their own motivations and understandings on target. It's easy for them to think, I've kind of given up on what I'm supposed to be doing. I've kind of set aside the calling part of it because I got to pay the bills. And they feel like there's a clash between them. Now there's a great concept. I believe it's a great concept. I'm sure others disagree with it, but you can look at several world religions over the history of humanity, and you'll find that almost every one of them, save modern Christianity, practice this process. And that is, even back to the days of Paul, biblically speaking, Paul was a tent maker. He had a side job. He had a side hustle. And that side hustle paid the majority of his bills. And then he began going out on the road, and other people would support him in his travels, in his work, and his teaching. But through most of human history, people who have a religious calling, for the most part, start out having a full-time job or at least a vocation or a way of earning money as well. And what we found with the advent in the last couple of hundred years of professional clergy is that a lot of people feel like it's a conflict. Well, this new concept called the Seven Mountains really says it shouldn't be that we separate our faith from everything, our job, separate our faith from our politics, separate our faith from our family, separate our faith from how we make movies or write books or speak on stages, but they really should be deeply intertwined. And so in the light of that concept, I want to give you 7 P's that I feel like if you will use these as a lens in your own life and go, okay, whether my faith is Christianity or my faith is something else, understanding that my calling in this life, in this universe, is bigger than my paycheck. In fact, why I'm here isn't just to make money. It isn't just to play, to buy things, to sell things. It's not about that at all. There's a greater reason that I'm here. Maybe it's your children, your grandchildren. Maybe it's your impact in society and your local community and culture. Maybe it is your faith and you've got a calling to proselytize that faith around the world. Any of those are fine, but I'm thoroughly convinced that our purpose on this planet is not just to gain wealth. I'm also thoroughly convinced that there's nothing wrong with gaining wealth as long as you don't abandon the original calling or find yourself running counter to it. Meaning, if your calling is to do good for people, don't do something to make money that does bad for people. I would think that would go without saying, but I do know people who feel like, well, I'm in the business of XYZ, but I'm in the ministry of this, and they're not always in harmony with each other. You have a different problem. Personally, I would say that problem is you've lost sight of your calling or your purpose. You need to work on it. By the way, that's the first of 7 P's. Purpose. If you know what you're here for, if you know what we're made for, if you have an idea what you're supposed to do with your gifts. Now, obviously, we could spend probably 10 episodes of this show talking about your purpose. I'll give you a couple of really cool tools that if you'll step back for a moment before you ask yourself, what job should I have? How much money should I make? How much money should I charge my customers? What products should I sell? What industry should I be in? What market? Before you go there, let's go back to the who that you are. So I'm going to give you some really quick resources. I'm going to challenge you to write these down. They are not in the description below. So if you're only paying attention to the written description, you're going to miss this. I'm stalling so you can get your pen and paper or pull out your notes on your phone. Send a text to your best friend so you'll know where to find it later. First book I want you to grab, before you read the book, go to the back, take the assessment. It's called Strength Finders 2.0. It's a silver book. Looks like it's made of chrome. It's hard to miss. Take the assessment first, then read the book when you get your assessment back. For the cost of the book, you can get your top 5. These top 5 are going to give you a really good idea who you are. And what's probably going to happen, like happened to me, is when I started reading this and then reading the descriptions of my top 5, what I realized was I should have known that all along. I've been accused of being like this when that was a misinterpretation. I'm really like this. And that is so very me. But realizing that I've been getting ridiculed and criticized and condemned for the nature that was me because people misinterpreted it. Of course, that meant I had a little bit of work to do to help people understand why I do what I do. But it was my nature. That's the way I was wired. My number one in Strength Finders is learner. I have an insatiable desire to know. I never stop wanting to know. I could walk you in and show you my library, but I won't. My library exists because I can't stop. There's 2 more bookshelves back here in the back part of the studio with books in boxes that are still not on the shelves yet. We just acquired the shelves because we ran out of room for our shelves. They're double stacked, laying flat on the top, every shelf in the training room. We just ran out of space. But I'm still not done learning. I still see a book, hear a title, hear an author speak, and I go, oh, that's good stuff. I need to know more about what they say. That's my number 1. What does that mean? That means there are times that I know stuff that people go, why do you even know that? I don't know. I can't stop learning. And that was one of those things that came into my sphere and I went, that's pretty cool. I want to know more about that. See, when you take time to do Strength Finders, you're going to discover things about you that might explain to you why you do what you do. Why your gifts are so strong in one area, but the thing you've been trying to do isn't really your thing. John Maxwell says it like this. When you know what you're good at, you know if you're a 2, 3, or 4 at something, maybe it's playing basketball, playing golf. By the way, at basketball, I'm a -3. I'm that bad. I can neither dribble nor shoot. I do a good job of getting in the way, but that's a whole lot better for football than it is for basketball. Basketball, not on my list of good. Never played a game of hockey in my life. I don't know if I'd be any good at that or not. Probably, given my lack of agility, not so much. Billiards, pretty good at billiards. But if I'm a 2, a 3, or a 4 at hockey and a -2 at basketball, and I try as hard as I can, I might get back to 0 in basketball, and I might get to be a 4, still below average in hockey. But in billiards, naturally, I'm a 7 or 8. And when I push really hard, I can play at a 10 level consistently. And if I spent more time practicing for the purpose of competitions, I can easily play in the top 50% of the world. I know, because I have. But whatever your gift is, whatever your talents are, whatever your skill sets are, you can probably push the needle by 2 or 3 points. So stop worrying about the ones where you know you're a -2. Let somebody else handle that. Focus on the ones where you're already a 7, 8, or a 9, and you could become the best in the world. Know your purpose. Strength Finders is a great place to start. If you haven't done the DISC assessment, do the DISC assessment. That's a pretty good personality profile outline as well. And if you haven't yet done the 6 types of working genius, I would recommend that as well. Those 3 together will put you in a work category, the type of work you should be doing, the type of people you should be around, and the nature of you. And when you understand that part of your purpose, what was I made for? Am I a fork? Or am I a noodle strainer? 2 totally different things. Both of them go with spaghetti, but they have a completely different relationship to spaghetti. That's something you need to know about you. And I'm not sure I would 100% trust anybody else to tell me before I've done a little bit of research on my own and ask myself, is that true about me? Am I more like this or more like that? Just saying, you really should spend some time in that. Strength Finders 2.0, the DISC assessment, 6 types of working genius. And if you're a person of faith, the spiritual gift assessment. Get a better idea of how you fit in your denomination, in your church lingo, in the communities that you run in. You should understand how those parameters of your nature fit with what you believe you're supposed to be doing faith-wise. Number 2, you need a plan. 7 P's. Number 1 is a purpose. You need to understand your purpose. Number 2, you need a plan. This plan is going to allow you to set the goals, to have those markers along the roadmap, the road rally. I don't know if you've ever watched a road rally. Sometimes nowadays they're being followed by drones. Back in the day, they were followed by helicopters, or nobody knew where those guys were until they came past a checkpoint. And they would be going through mountain roads and deserts and valleys and rivers and streams. And if they took a wrong turn because they missed a pylon or missed a cone, or the navigator wasn't watching closely enough, they're doing 50, 60, some of them 100 miles an hour in the middle of nowhere. You can only do 100 miles for 2 or 3 minutes, 100 miles an hour for 2 or 3 minutes before you're someplace else. If you don't know what your checkpoints are, if you don't have a map, if you don't have goals, if you don't know, I've got to accomplish this before I can do that, then you could be way off course. You could be chasing butterflies really, really quick if you don't have a plan. A plan probably needs some help. Once you know what your purposes are, you have a pretty good idea where you want to go. Getting a plan together to go, these are some of the goals, these are my strategies, these are how I'm going to define the terms for my course of action. I'm going to get my degree. I'm going to join this program. I'm going to intern here. Once I graduate, I'm going to build this, then I'm going to buy this, and then I'm going to own this, and I'm going to run it like this. And if those things vocationally, financially, in the world of business don't conflict with your purpose, your calling, your ministry, if you will, then they just reinforce it, because you're taking all of these natural gifts and skills and investing them in this plan, in this strategy, in these definable goals to go, I know I can pull that off because that comes naturally to me. Dr. Caroline Leaf says, you know it's a gift when you do it so easily that people look at you and go, my gosh, how do you do that? And you think to yourself, I thought everybody could do that. That's how you know it's a gift. And that gift will take you so far in life. Your talent's going to take you a long way too. That gift is going to take you even further. And what will take you even further than that is leadership skills. Talent is only so much. Gifts, so much. Characters, everything. If you don't work on your own self-development, your own leadership skills, your character will eat you alive, where your talent's still promoting your name. Permission. All right. This is probably the hardest thing that I struggle with my clients. And for me, it was a struggle for a long, long time. Permission. Now, short of having a building plan or a city zoning policy issue, or I don't know, if what you plan to do to make a whole lot of money is outside the law, then you need permission. You need to get a permit, or you need another plan. If you know that your plan to make a lot of money is going to make you a lot of money, but it might put you in jail, get another plan. Because you can't serve your calling if you're doing things that are going to get you incarcerated, unless your calling is prison ministry and you think you need to be a prisoner to pull it off. Probably not the best plan. I recommend you get another plan. Now, aside from that, let me say, many people stall their future, their business future, their calling future. They throw the brakes on themselves because they're waiting for permission. I remember a time that I sent a copy of a book and an outline that I was working on to my pastor at that time. This has been well over 10 years ago. I sent him my outline, I sent him my book, I sent him some ideas, and I said, I just want to know what you think of this. Deep down inside, what I was asking from him was, man, that's awesome, go for it. And instead I got was, yeah, I don't think you're the right person to write this. And it crushed me. It really did, because A, I thought we were friends, and B, I thought just a little boost, just a little synergy to feel like, man, you got this, would really have put me over the edge at that moment. And instead, I don't think you're the person to write this. It was like a kick to the gut. Honestly, I cried. I picked up a book that to this day I have not read cover to cover. It was an odd book. I'd only had it for a couple of weeks. I hadn't read a single page of it, but I picked it up and randomly flipped to a page in the middle. And in the middle, there was a question at the top of the page. Whose permission are you asking for? I thought, how did you know that's what I was thinking? And then I looked down the page, and there was a conversation between the rabbi and his followers. And the rabbi was like, well, so looks like everybody else left. What about you? And one of the followers kind of spoke up for the whole crowd. And he said, you seem to be the only one that's got this figured out. I mean, who else are we going to turn to? And that became the answer that my soul needed in the moment. Whose permission do I need? Who is it that's going to put that final endorsement? Does it have to be approved by city council? Well, then get a city council approval. Does it have to be approved by the zoning and code commission? Go see them. That's fine. But there may be times that there's no one who's going to step up behind you and go, yes, this is it, go for it. Except that still small voice that whispers in your ear, you don't have to have permission. I told you to do it in the first place. It was my idea to begin with. Where do you think you came up with it? Permission granted. Process. Now, this is probably the hardest part for all of us. Calling and business. I don't know even bamboo. I don't know of any seed that you can plant, and while you're gone to lunch, it comes back out of the ground, alive and well, strong tree, big leaves, producing fruit over a lunch break. I've never seen it happen. I don't know of it. Maybe it's there. If it is, please drop in the comments. I'd love to know it. I'd love to see how it grows. I'd love to see how it germinates. I'd love to see how it dies. Because something you got to know about seeds, this is just a fact. If it doesn't die, then it doesn't germinate. And the hard part is sometimes we get stuck in the part of the process that thinks, well, I put my money in there, give it back. I've invested my time in there. Where's my reward? I've done the blood, sweat, and tears part. Now I want the rejoicing part. Where's the celebration? I want my ribbon cutting. Where's my grand opening? And it ain't coming yet. And I think there's a dual pronged purpose for that. One of those is every seed has a different gestation period. Go back, I don't know, about 10 episodes, maybe more than that, to the Live a More Excellent Life series. And you'll hear me talk about elephant seeds, how elephant seeds and rabbit seeds and carrot seeds, they all have a different gestation period. But something you have to know about them: elephant seeds don't make rabbits. Carrot seeds don't make tomatoes. Jalapeno seeds, they don't make cherries. Human seeds don't make giraffes. Whatever seed you've planted, it's going to have a different germination period. Whatever business you're building, whatever calling you're serving, when you've started doing the work, tilling the soil, plowing the ground, laying the seeds, watering them, fertilizing them, understand the different climates, the different soils, the different amount of moisture, the different amount of care and tenderness that that seed needs to produce the fruit. It's all dependent on the work you do after you think you've done the work. If you don't keep the weeds out, seed dies. You don't keep the birds out, seed dies. You don't keep the sun off of it, seed dies. But if the seed dies in the wrong place, it will never grow and it will never bear fruit. And you putting that seed in the right place is the beginning. Cultivating that seed is part of the process. And then you also have to know part of the process, there's nothing you can do about it. An acorn is a seed. You can bury it in the ground. It weighs what? Less than a half of an ounce. Give it 20 years, and what that acorn produces will stop a car at 70 miles an hour. True story. You ever met somebody who wrapped their car around a tree? That acorn that weighed half an ounce has filled itself with moisture, with dirt, with nutrients, with chlorophyll from the sun, with carbon monoxide from your breathing, and created something you had nothing to do with except planting the seed and guarding the seed until the process happened. If your business is floundering, if your calling is floundering, if your ministry is floundering right now and you're asking, what did I do wrong? Wait. Just wait. Because this process doesn't happen overnight. And sometimes once you've planted the seed, what you need to be doing is going back and looking at that purpose again, going back and looking at those skills and those gifts and that character and those talents and say, what can I do to be ready when that tree comes, when it starts to bear fruit, when that plan begins to unfold, when the purpose of my life collides with my plan and the process, and I'm ready now to do everything that's in front of me. Am I prepared for that moment? John Maxwell says, luck waits at the corner. A preparedness and opportunity. And I can tell you about a half a dozen times in my life that the opportunity came and I wasn't prepared. And I watched the opportunity drive away like a Greyhound bus that refused to stop. That opportunity may never come down my street again. I don't want to be the kind of person that lives with regret, but there are some of those opportunities that if I could catch that bus, I would. Some of those opportunities are kind of like the little ice cream man. He knows you're running after him. He might stop eventually, but there's no guarantee. You might chase him until you give up. And sometimes that opportunity doesn't stop at the intersection you were waiting at, because you should have been better prepared for the next intersection. And sometimes, here's the hardest one. It's the truth, though. Sometimes that opportunity never even slows down because it wasn't yours. It doesn't mean you didn't see it coming. It wasn't for you. That was for somebody else. Are they prepared? Was it part of your role, your responsibility to help them get prepared? Maybe it was. I don't know. It's not an accusation. It's just a question. And sometimes the person driving that bus of opportunity is using that I'm not stopping at this intersection. I'm going to the bus stop to let you know if you really want this opportunity, you're going to have to pursue it. You're going to have to go at it, which leads us to our next P. Part of the process is persistence. Part of the process is persistence. Yeah, you got to plant the seed. Yeah, you got to nurture the seed. Yeah, you got to protect the seed. Yeah, you got to be ready. And sometimes you just got to keep waiting. Don't quit. I heard someone say it the other day, just a reminder. I think I've heard it probably 1,000 times before, just like you have. Water doesn't carve the valley in the rock by brute force. It reshapes the riverbed by persistence. It just won't quit. In your life, if you're finding yourself in that place where the business side of life and the calling side of life are colliding, or they're separating, and you can't figure out how to just keep the bills paid and live out your purpose, if you found yourself in that place, just understand, you've got to stay the course. And staying the course, not quitting, being persistent, that might be the test that's just simply part of the process. How bad do you want it? Life will often throw a gauntlet at you. Good leaders will always throw a gauntlet at you. As a coach, I use a gauntlet. Sometimes it's price, sometimes it's strategy. Sometimes I poke people in the eye just to see how they're going to respond. But those gauntlets give me a really good idea up front. Are we going to work well together? Are they going to stay the course when it gets tough? Are they going to do the hard work when I give them a homework assignment that I know makes them uncomfortable? If they are, awesome. Let's rock on. And if they're not, if they're going to back up, if they're going to shy away, if they're going to blame others, if they're going to find some excuse for not doing the hard thing, I'm not going to be able to serve them well. If persistence is not your thing, just, know that. Again, it's not an accusation. It's just raising an awareness. Progress. Progress is understanding that you've got the goals, you've got the checkpoints, you've got, how am I doing? And understand that sometimes if you're looking at that acorn every day, nothing there. Every day you're looking at that seed. Every day you're looking at what you've done. Sometimes you're missing what the progress is. Maybe your progress is patience. Maybe your progress is growing in your character on the other side. This big deal you thought was going to happen, this big arrangement that was like dream come true, everything was falling into place, and then whoosh, carpet gets ripped out from under you. You're like, what happened? What did I do wrong? Nothing. Perhaps it was nothing. But when the scent of the flower blossom, when that little sprout comes up out of the dirt, when you hear a whisper of encouragement, or you hear the faint cries of your haters, all of those are signs of progress. All of them are signs of progress. Some are little bitty, tiny signs. Some of them are enormous signs. Some of them are like the rumble before the earthquake, or the train sound before a tornado. The storm is coming. Things are changing. The world is about to rock and roll, and you're right on the cusp of it happening. That's where persistence and progress have to come together. You got a purpose. You got a plan. You know there's a process. You've been persistent. Now you're seeing the progress, but it's slow. And finally, understand your day is going to come. It will come. If you stick to those other 6 P's, your day is going to come, and that day is going to be the payoff. When all of it comes together, when you're sitting on the beach and you're looking back and you're going, my 5th book, the first 4, I didn't sell any. I had to give them all away. My 5th book, though, my 5th book, New York Times bestseller in 3 weeks. I've never imagined making this much money in my life, but more than that, 1 million people have read what I went through. 1 million people have a new solution. 1 million people have a new idea. I thought I was going to get the big stages. I thought I was going to get all these other successes. I thought, no. Your payoff may be 5 years, 10 years down the road. Your payoff may be in retirement. I can tell you how many times it broke my heart thinking, well, I want to send my kids to the best colleges and the best schools. I want to pay for their weddings, and they're going to be extravagant. And I just couldn't. because I struggled for many years with what do I do to pay the bills and how do I live out my calling? And the two collided, but they never melded. In Story Power Academy, we've put those together on purpose. Yeah, we serve people who don't have any religious affiliations at all. And we serve people who have different religious affiliations than we have. But we serve a whole lot of people who serve the same God we serve in the name of Jesus Christ, who are looking for the opportunity to build their business and their calling together. That's a major payoff. Ultimately, my payoff isn't about the bank account. I'd love it to be full. But if I step in to the pearly gates and he looks at me and he says, that's my boy, that's my son, whom I love and in whom I'm well pleased, good and faithful servant. That's my payoff. I win. What's yours? I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.
Think storytelling's just for bedtime? Nah, it's the secret sauce for business magic. Stuck in a rut with bland pitches and yawning clients? Enter Boost Your Business with Story Power. 6 weeks of epic storytelling training. It's like leveling up in a video game but for your career. Master the art of narrative and watch connections blossom like a viral TikTok. Simple, impactful, and game-changing. Ready to transform your biz vibes? Dive in now and make storytelling your superpower.
This 6 weeks guided program is specifically designed for those people who say, I know I need to tell stories. I need to tell better stories because the ones I have are boring or they're not getting across. Or as John Maxwell says, everyone communicates and, well, few connect. Now, as a participant in this course, what I would really love to know from you, put it in the discussion on the course if you're already registered online. Send me a chat, send me a DM, send me a text, send me an email. I'd really love to know what you hope to get out of this course. Now, I can tell you what we're going to discuss, and I can tell you what I plan to teach and train you on, and I can tell you even what we plan to discuss each week on the calls for the next 6 weeks. I'm going to go over all of that for you in just a moment. I can also tell you that my clients who get the greatest success are the ones who apply the Story Power process to their business development to increase their impact, their influence, and their income. Now, the Story Power process includes story mining, story selection, story qualification, story crafting, connecting with your audience, and leading the narrative. And if you leave any one of those parts out, you're going to find that, well, you're just not as effective as you want to be. You're not going to grow your business to the same level. You're not going to lead with impact and influence like you hope to. I can also tell you that the people who apply these things, well, they're not failing in their business. The reason a lot of people fail in their business is they continue to fail to connect the solution they offer with the problem that their clients have. The pain and the solution never come together. And a lot of that failure is because they're not clearly articulating how their solution solves someone else's problem. It comes down to a question something like this: who do you help and how? Yes, that's one of the first things we're going to discuss over the next 6 weeks of Boost Your Business with Story Power.
Master the Story Power method to captivate your audience, improve workplace culture, and 10x your fundraising.
Scan the QR code to book your first coaching call or visit storypowercoach.com.
Subscribe now